Introduction: Unlocking the Secret to Infinite Wealth. What if the only thing standing between you and your wildest dreams is a simple shift in your daily thinking? Napoleon Hill's legendary masterpiece reveals that wealth is not a matter of blind luck, but a highly deliberate state of mind. By studying hundreds of the most successful individuals of his era, Hill uncovered a universal formula for achievement that absolutely anyone can apply to their own life. This book is not merely about accumulating financial riches. It is a profound and timeless blueprint for personal transformation and limitless potential. You will discover how to harness your thoughts, conquer hidden fears, and turn intangible desires into concrete, physical reality. Are you ready to rewrite your destiny and claim the life you deserve? Let us explore these life-changing secrets together. Point 1. Turning burning desire into tangible reality. Every great achievement in human history started as a mere thought, a tiny seed of desire planted firmly in someone's mind. But we are not talking about a simple wish or a fleeting hope. We are exploring a consuming, obsessive passion that flat out refuses to accept defeat. When you look at people who have achieved extraordinary things, it is easy to assume they were blessed with special talents or endless resources. Yet, the foundation of all profound success is something much more accessible: a burning desire. A wish will not bring you riches. Hoping for a better life will not magically change your bank account. What creates real, unstoppable momentum is a desire so strong that it becomes the singular driving obsession of your life. You must want your goal so badly that you are willing to burn all your boats and cut off all avenues of retreat. Consider the fascinating story of Edwin C. Barnes, a man who had a burning desire to become the business partner of the great inventor Thomas A. Edison. Barnes did not want to work for Edison, he wanted to work with him. At the time, Barnes had no money, no influence, and no special technical skills. He could not even afford a passenger train ticket to Edison's laboratory in West Orange, New Jersey. Instead of giving up, he traveled on a freight train, arriving at Edison's office looking completely unkempt, resembling a common tramp. However, beneath his ragged exterior burned an unstoppable ambition. When he stood before Edison, the great inventor later recalled that there was something in the young man's eyes that conveyed absolute determination. Edison gave him a job sweeping floors. Most people would have felt insulted or discouraged. They might have thought, "I came here to be a partner and now I am just a janitor." Barnes, on the other hand, saw this as his foot in the door. He used his time to observe, learn, and wait for his opportunity. Months went by and nothing changed. But in his mind, Barnes was already Edison's partner. Eventually, Edison invented a new device called the Edison dictating machine. His sales force was entirely unenthusiastic about it, believing it would be too difficult to sell. Barnes instantly saw his chance. He confidently approached Edison and promised he could sell the machine. Edison gave him the opportunity, and Barnes sold it so successfully that they entered into a contract to distribute and market it nationwide. The slogan "Made by Edison and installed by Barnes" was born, and Barnes made a massive fortune. He proved that a deeply held desire, backed by absolute persistence, can bend reality to your will. How do we apply this incredible principle to our everyday lives? Hill provides a highly specific, practical, 6-step formula to transform your desires into physical reality. First, fix in your mind the exact amount of money or the specific goal you desire. It is not enough to say, "I want plenty of money," or "I want a better job." You must be highly specific. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return. There is no such thing as something for nothing. What effort, service, or product will you provide? Third, establish a definite date by which you intend to possess the desired goal. A goal without a deadline is merely a dream floating in the wind. Fourth, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once. It does not matter if you feel ready or not. You must take immediate action. Fifth, Write out a clear, concise statement summarizing the first 4 steps. Put it all down on paper. Sixth, read your written statement aloud twice daily. Read it once just before going to sleep and once upon waking up. As you read, you must see, feel, and believe yourself already in possession of your goal. This process might sound completely illogical to someone who has never tried it. You might ask, how can reading a piece of paper change my life? The secret lies in how human psychology works. By constantly focusing your mind on a single burning desire, you begin to notice opportunities that were previously invisible to you. Your brain acts like a heat-seeking missile, filtering out distractions and locking onto the people, resources, and circumstances needed to fulfill your ambition. When your desire becomes an obsession, failure simply becomes a temporary detour rather than a dead end. Point 2. Programming your mind with unshakable faith. Have you ever noticed how people who genuinely believe they will succeed often do, while those expecting failure seem to stumble at every turn? That is the incredible power of faith, the head chemist of the human mind that transforms ordinary thoughts into magnetic, life-changing forces. Faith is a word that carries a lot of weight, often associated strictly with religion or spirituality. In the context of achieving your goals, however, faith is a deeply practical, psychological state of mind. It is the absolute unwavering belief in your own ability to achieve your desires. When your mind is filled with faith, it communicates directly with your subconscious mind, supercharging your thoughts with emotion and translating them into spiritual and physical equivalents. A mind dominated by positive emotions becomes a fertile garden where success inevitably blossoms. But what if you do not naturally possess this kind of unshakable confidence? What if you are plagued by self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or a history of setbacks? The beautiful truth is that faith can be artificially induced. You can literally program your mind to believe in your success through the principle of repetition. Any impulse of thought that is repeatedly passed on to the subconscious mind is eventually accepted and acted upon. If you constantly tell yourself that you are going to fail, your subconscious will meticulously orchestrate your downfall. Conversely, if you repeatedly affirm your success, your subconscious will drive you toward it with an almost magical precision. Let us look at a historical example of faith in action. In the early 20th century, a man named Charles M. Schwab had a colossal vision. He wanted to consolidate the heavily fragmented steel industry into one massive, highly efficient corporation. At the time, this sounded like an absolute pipe dream. The industry was plagued by fierce competition and bitter rivalries. Yet Schwab possessed a profound faith in his vision. He managed to secure an invitation to a dinner party attended by J.P. Morgan, the most powerful financier in the world. After dinner, Schwab stood up and delivered a speech outlining his grand vision for the United States Steel Corporation. Schwab spoke with such magnetic conviction, such unshakable faith, that J.P. Morgan, a man notoriously difficult to impress, was completely captivated. Morgan agreed to finance the massive buyout of Andrew Carnegie's steel holdings, an unprecedented financial maneuver at the time. Schwab's unwavering belief in his idea literally created a billion-dollar empire out of thin air. He did not have the money himself, but his faith acted as an irresistible magnet, drawing the necessary resources directly to him. The subconscious mind does not possess a sense of humor, nor does it filter out what is real from what is deeply imagined. If you feed it fears, anxieties, and limiting beliefs, it will accept them as absolute truth and manifest them in your physical reality. This is why worrying is so intensely destructive. Worry is nothing more than negative faith. It is the act of using your imagination to create exactly what you do not want. To build positive faith, you must aggressively guard the thoughts you allow into your mind. You must consciously choose to focus on your strengths, your past victories, and your ultimate goals. When a negative thought enters your mind, you must immediately replace it with a positive affirmation. This requires immense discipline, but the rewards are staggering. Think about a time when you were absolutely certain you could accomplish a task, perhaps riding a bicycle, driving a car, or cooking a favorite meal. There was no hesitation, no paralyzing fear. You simply acted, trusting that your body and mind knew exactly what to do. That is the exact state of mind you must cultivate for your biggest dreams. You must reach a point where your success feels like a foregone conclusion. When faith blends intimately with your burning desire, you unlock a hidden reservoir of infinite intelligence. You stop forcing things to happen and start allowing them to unfold naturally, guided by an inner knowing that cannot be shaken by temporary circumstances. Point 3. Mastering autosuggestion and specialized knowledge. We constantly talk to ourselves throughout the day, often without even realizing the profound impact of our internal dialogue. By taking control of this silent conversation, you can literally rewire your brain for success and absorb the specific, specialized knowledge required to achieve your grandest goals. Autosuggestion is a foundational pillar of personal achievement. It is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed their subconscious mind with thoughts of a creative nature. Simply put, it is self-suggestion. When you read your statement of desire aloud, as outlined in the 6-step formula, you are actively employing autosuggestion. However, there is a massive trap that many people fall into. They read their goals like a robot reading a grocery list. They recite the words, but they feel absolutely nothing. Your subconscious mind is entirely unresponsive to plain, emotionless words. If you repeat, "I am going to be wealthy" 1,000 times in a monotone voice, absolutely nothing will happen. You might as well be talking to a brick wall. To penetrate the subconscious layer of your mind, your words must be drenched in deep emotion and feeling. When you visualize your goal, you must feel the excitement, the joy, and the profound gratitude of already possessing it. You must close your eyes and genuinely see the money in your hands, feel the steering wheel of the car you want, or envision the specific impact of the business you are building. Emotion is the vital catalyst that turns a mere thought into a command that the subconscious mind cannot ignore. Once your mind is properly primed through autosuggestion, you must turn your attention to the acquisition of knowledge. But not just any knowledge, we are talking about specialized knowledge. There are two kinds of knowledge in this world: general and specialized. General knowledge, no matter how vast or impressive, is practically useless when it comes to accumulating wealth. The universities of the world are filled to the brim with general knowledge, yet most professors are not exceptionally wealthy. They specialize in teaching knowledge, but not necessarily in organizing and applying it. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes actual power only when it is organized into definite plans of action and directed toward a definite end. This is a massive revelation for many people who believe that simply getting a degree or reading a lot of books will automatically make them successful. To illustrate this point perfectly, let us look at the legendary industrialist Henry Ford. During World War I, a Chicago newspaper published an editorial calling Ford an ignorant pacifist. Ford was deeply offended and sued the newspaper for libel. During the trial, the newspaper's attorneys put Ford on the witness stand and aggressively interrogated him, trying to prove to the jury that he was indeed ignorant. They asked him a barrage of trivial history questions: who was Benedict Arnold? And how many soldiers did the British send to America to put down the rebellion? Ford, who had very little formal education, eventually grew tired of this absurd line of questioning. He leaned forward, pointed his finger at the lawyer, and delivered a response that completely silenced the courtroom. He stated that he had a row of electric push buttons on his desk. Whenever he needed a specific question answered, he simply pushed a button and summoned an expert who could provide the exact information required. "Now, will you kindly tell me," Ford asked, "why I should clutter up my mind with general knowledge for the purpose of being able to answer questions when I have men around me who can supply any knowledge I require?" The logic was completely unassailable. Ford proved that you do not need to know everything to be incredibly successful. You only need to know how to acquire the specialized knowledge you need or how to organize a team of people who possess that knowledge. If you lack the specific skills to start your business or achieve your goal, you do not have to spend 10 years in school learning them. You can partner with experts, hire consultants, or utilize modern resources to bridge the gap. Your primary job is to be the visionary, the organizer, and the driving force. You use autosuggestion to build the belief, and you use specialized knowledge as the specific tool to carve your path forward. Point 4, building wealth through imagination and planning. The human mind is a remarkable, infinite workshop where all plans are created, but it relies heavily on the faculty of imagination to shape our desires into actionable steps. Without a solid, organized plan born from creative thinking, even the strongest burning desire will eventually fizzle out into absolute nothingness. Imagination is literally the workshop wherein all plans are created by man. The impulse, the desire, is given shape, form, and action through the imaginative faculty of the mind. It is often said that man can create anything which he can imagine. Hill divides this incredible faculty into two distinct types: synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Synthetic imagination is the ability to arrange old concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations. This faculty creates nothing entirely new. It merely works with the material of experience, education, and observation with which it is fed. A great example of this is the modern smartphone. The creators did not invent the telephone, the camera, or the internet. They simply used synthetic imagination to combine these existing technologies into one revolutionary device. Creative imagination, on the other hand, is the faculty through which hunches and inspirations are received. It is the direct link to infinite intelligence. When a musician composes a breathtaking symphony, or a scientist experiences a sudden aha moment that defies all previous logic, they are tapping into their creative imagination. Let us look at a brilliant historical example of imagination turning a simple idea into unimaginable wealth. Many decades ago, an old country doctor rode into town, tied his horse, and entered a drugstore. He negotiated with the young clerk and sold him an old brass kettle and a secret formula written on a scrap of paper for exactly $500, his entire life savings. The clerk, a man named Asa Candler, took that formula, poured his vivid imagination into it, and created a global empire. What was in the kettle? It was the original formula for Coca-Cola. The doctor only saw a tasty drink, but Candler's imagination saw a beverage that could quench the thirst of the entire world. The formula itself was worthless without the massive dose of imagination and organized planning that Candler applied to it. To turn your own imagination into reality, you must engage in organized planning. You cannot succeed alone. You must ally yourself with a group of as many people as you need to create and carry out your plans. Before forming your alliance, you must decide exactly what advantages and benefits you can offer the individual members of your group in return for their cooperation. Nobody works indefinitely without some form of compensation, whether it is financial, educational, or emotional. Once you have your plan and your team, you must put the plan into action. But what happens if your first plan completely fails? This is where millions of people throw in the towel. If your first plan fails, you must simply replace it with a new plan. If that new plan fails, replace it again, and keep doing so until you find a plan that works. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times before perfecting the incandescent light bulb. He did not consider these failures. He merely considered them discovered ways that did not work. His plans failed 10,000 times, but his desire never wavered. Temporary defeat should mean only one thing: the certain knowledge that there is something fundamentally wrong with your plan. It does not mean you are fundamentally flawed, nor does it mean your goal is impossible. Defeat is nature's way of testing you, forcing you to refine your approach. The most successful leaders in business, politics, and life are those who possess the imagination to see beyond a temporary setback and the organizational skills to draft a superior plan. They understand that a quitter never wins and a winner never quits. By continuously exercising your imagination and meticulously organizing your plans, you build an unshakable bridge from where you are today to where you desperately want to be tomorrow. Point 5, defeating procrastination through swift decision. One of the most common and devastating stumbling blocks on the road to success is the silent thief of time known as procrastination. Those who accumulate vast fortunes share a striking, undeniable habit. They make decisions incredibly quickly and change them incredibly slowly, if they ever change them at all. Napoleon Hill analyzed the lives of more than 25,000 men and women who had experienced profound failure. He discovered that lack of decision, or procrastination, was near the very top of the list of the 30 major causes of failure. This is not just a minor character flaw, it is a fatal disease of the mind that destroys dreams before they even have a chance to take root. Conversely, when he studied hundreds of millionaires, he found that every single one of them possessed the remarkable habit of reaching decisions promptly and changing them with extreme slowness. Why is decisiveness so incredibly powerful? Because the world has a habit of making room for the person whose words and actions show that they know exactly where they are going. When you make a firm decision, you cut off all other possibilities. The word decision actually comes from Latin roots meaning to cut off. You eliminate the endless mental debate that drains your energy and paralyzes your actions. Henry Ford was legendary for his habit of reaching decisions quickly and changing them slowly. One of his most famous decisions was to produce the Model T, a car that was notoriously ugly and completely unadorned. All of his advisors, executives, and even his dealers begged him to change the design, to add some flair, or to produce different models. Ford resolutely refused. He had made his decision and he stuck to it with absolute iron will. While this obstinacy eventually caused him some trouble down the road, it was exactly this unwavering decisiveness that allowed him to build the massive foundation of the Ford Motor Company and amass a colossal fortune. He did not let the opinions of others sway his core vision. This brings us to a crucial point. Opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. Everyone has a flock of opinions ready to be forced upon anyone who will accept them. If you let yourself be influenced by the opinions of others when you make decisions, you will never succeed in any undertaking. Your close friends and family, while often meaning well, can sometimes be your biggest obstacles. They might try to protect you from failure by discouraging you from taking risks. They might say things like, "That's too dangerous," or "Why don't you just settle for a secure job?" If you listen to them, you are allowing their fears to dictate your destiny. To truly understand the monumental power of a definite decision, we only need to look at the history of the United States. The signing of the Declaration of Independence was one of the most profound decisions ever made in human history. 56 men gathered in Philadelphia and signed a document that essentially served as their own death warrant if their revolution failed. They did not have a backup plan. They did not say, "Let's try this revolution for a few months and see how it goes." They pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to a single, unalterable decision. That level of absolute commitment birthed a nation. How do you build this incredible habit of decisiveness in your daily life? You must start actively practicing it with small things. When you are at a restaurant, look at the menu, pick a meal within 30 seconds, and close the menu. When an opportunity presents itself, gather the necessary facts quickly and make a call. Stop endlessly weighing the pros and cons until the opportunity passes you by. Keep your own counsel. When you begin to implement your plans, keep your eyes and ears wide open, but keep your mouth firmly shut. Those who talk too much often do little else. If you broadcast your plans to the world before you execute them, you invite envious people to shoot down your ideas. Make your decisions swiftly, act upon them immediately, and let your results do the talking. Point 6. Building unstoppable momentum with persistence. Talent, genius, and education are rarely enough to guarantee success if they are not backed by an iron-willed determination to simply keep going. Persistence is to the character of man what carbon is to steel, transforming a brittle, easily broken dream into an unbreakable, enduring reality. We live in a world obsessed with overnight success. We see the final, glorious results of someone's hard work on social media or the news, but we rarely see the years of grinding, sweating, and failing that occurred behind closed doors. The truth is, there is no substitute for persistence. It is the one quality that absolutely separates the winners from the quitters. When you embark on any grand endeavor, you will inevitably face massive challenges, unexpected setbacks, and moments of profound self-doubt. In those dark moments, persistence is the only life raft you have. One of the most famous stories in Napoleon Hill's work perfectly illustrates the tragedy of quitting too soon. It is the story of R.U. Darby and his uncle, who caught gold fever during the gold rush days. They went west, staked a claim, and began digging with picks and shovels. After weeks of backbreaking labor, they finally discovered a shining vein of gold ore. They needed heavy machinery to extract the gold, so they covered up the mine, went back home to Maryland to raise the money, and then returned with the equipment. Everything was going perfectly. They shipped the first carload of ore, and it proved they had one of the richest mines in Colorado. Then, disaster struck. The vein of gold completely vanished. They drilled and dug desperately, trying to pick up the vein again, but they found absolutely nothing. Finally, exhausted and thoroughly defeated, they made a monumental mistake. They quit. They sold all their expensive machinery to a local junk man for a few $100s and took the train back home in disgrace. The junk man, however, was incredibly smart. Instead of just selling the machinery for scrap, he hired a mining engineer to examine the mine and do a little calculating. The engineer determined that the project had failed because Darby and his uncle were not familiar with fault lines. His calculations showed that the vein of gold would be found precisely 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. The junk man went exactly 3 feet deeper, found the massive vein of gold, and extracted millions of dollars in wealth. The Darbys had quit just 3 feet from millions. Darby later used this incredibly painful lesson to become a massively successful life insurance salesman. Whenever a client told him no, he remembered that he had once quit 3 feet from gold, and he simply refused to accept no as a final answer. He realized that a negative response was usually just a test of his persistence. How do we actively cultivate this magical quality of persistence in ourselves? It does not require a massive amount of intelligence or a special genetic mutation. It requires 4 simple, straightforward steps. First, you must have a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment. Second, you need a definite plan expressed in continuous action. Third, you must maintain a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, including the negative suggestions of relatives, friends, and acquaintances. Fourth, you must secure a friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage you to follow through with both your plan and your purpose. Think about a small child learning to walk. They stand up, take a wobbly step, and fall flat on their face. Do they stay on the floor and think, well, I guess walking just isn't for me? I'm a failure? Absolutely not. They get back up, try again, fall again, and keep repeating the process until they master it. They possess a natural, uncorrupted persistence. As adults, we let the fear of embarrassment and the pain of temporary failure rob us of this natural instinct. Reclaim your persistence. Expect obstacles, welcome them as profound learning opportunities, and resolve in your heart that you will absolutely never, ever give up. Point 7. Multiplying power through the mastermind. No single individual possesses enough experience, education, or native ability to achieve truly great wealth entirely on their own. When two or more minds come together in a spirit of perfect harmony, they create a mysterious third, invisible force that is vastly more powerful than the simple sum of its parts. Up to this point, we have focused heavily on what you must do within your own mind, your desire, your faith, your decisions, and your persistence. But personal effort has strict limitations. To achieve monumental success, you need power. Power is defined as highly organized and intelligently directed knowledge. And how do you acquire this level of organized knowledge? You build a mastermind alliance. Napoleon Hill defines the mastermind as the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. To understand how this works, think about a set of electrical batteries. A single battery will provide a certain amount of energy, but if you link several batteries together in a circuit, they provide a massive multiplied surge of power. The human brain operates in a very similar fashion. Each brain is a battery. When a group of brains are coordinated in a spirit of absolute harmony, the increased energy created through that alliance becomes available to every single individual in the group. One of the most striking examples of the mastermind principle is the story of Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was one of the wealthiest men in the history of the world, yet he freely admitted that he knew practically nothing about the technical manufacture of steel. He did not need to. What Carnegie had was a mastermind group consisting of about 50 men. He surrounded himself with brilliant chemists, plant managers, financial experts, and legal minds. His sole job was to keep these 50 men working together in a state of perfect harmony toward a single, definite objective: manufacturing and selling steel. All of Carnegie's fabulous wealth can be directly attributed to the immense power he generated through this mastermind alliance. Henry Ford utilized exactly the same principle. Early in his career, Ford was poor, uneducated, and widely considered an eccentric dreamer. But as he began to build his automotive empire, he intentionally allied himself with some of the greatest minds of his generation. He formed close friendships with Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, John Burroughs, and Luther Burbank. By spending time with these brilliant, driven individuals, Ford literally absorbed their habits of thought, their immense vision, and their unshakable confidence. He tapped into a collective intelligence that propelled him to the absolute pinnacle of global industry. Building your own mastermind group is one of the most critical steps you will ever take. But you cannot simply grab random people off the street. You must carefully select individuals who share your drive, who possess skills and knowledge that you lack, and most importantly, who can operate in a state of complete harmony. If there is constant bickering, jealousy, or hidden agendas within the group, the mastermind principle will completely fail. The power is generated by the frictionless blending of minds. In today's modern world, applying this principle is easier than ever. You do not need to be a billionaire to form a mastermind. You can organize a weekly coffee meeting with 3 or 4 ambitious friends or colleagues. You can join specialized online communities where professionals share insights and hold each other accountable. When you face a problem that seems totally insurmountable on your own, bringing it to your mastermind group will often yield a brilliant solution in minutes. One person's offhand comment will spark an idea in another person's mind, which will trigger a massive breakthrough for you. By leveraging the collective experience, education, and imagination of a harmonious group, you multiply your personal power exponentially and accelerate your journey toward ultimate success. Point 8, the conclusion. Before you can fully put any philosophy of success into practice, you must first clear your mind of the invisible, toxic cobwebs that paralyze action and destroy initiative. Fear is nothing more than a state of mind, but if left unchecked, it will completely block your path to riches and happiness. You can have the strongest desire, the most meticulously organized plans, and the most brilliant mastermind group in the world. But if your mind is heavily burdened with fear, you will inevitably self-sabotage. Napoleon Hill identified 6 basic fears that plague humanity. In order of their most common appearance, they are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. Every single worry or anxiety you have ever felt can be traced back to one of these 6 fundamental ghosts. The most destructive of all these fears is undoubtedly the fear of poverty. It is a paralyzing dread that destroys reason, stifles imagination, kills self-reliance, and undermines pure enthusiasm. It leads to a miserable life of settling for less. We fear poverty because we know that humans can be incredibly cruel to those who are down on their luck. But this fear is completely illogical when you realize that wealth is simply a state of mind. By actively filling your mind with thoughts of abundance, desire, and faith, the fear of poverty simply cannot exist. Your mind can only hold one dominating thought at a time. If you are relentlessly focused on your goal, there is absolutely no room left for the fear of being poor. Another massive roadblock is the fear of criticism. This fear robs people of their initiative and literally destroys their imagination before they even start. How many times have you had a brilliant idea only to instantly shoot it down because you thought, "What will my friends say? What will my family think? What if people laugh at me?" The fear of criticism prevents millions of people from starting businesses, writing books, or pursuing their true passions. We are terrified of the opinions of others. But, as we discussed earlier, opinions are entirely worthless commodities. If you allow the fear of someone else's opinion to dictate your actions, you are voluntarily handing over the keys to your life. You must build an invisible mental shield against the uninvited criticism of the world. Hill also warns of a 7th basic evil, which is perhaps more dangerous than all the fears combined: the susceptibility to negative influences. In our modern age, we are constantly bombarded by negativity. The news highlights tragedy, social media feeds on outrage, and pessimistic people complain about everything from the economy to the weather. If you leave your mind open and unguarded, this toxic negativity will seep into your subconscious mind and completely poison your belief system. You must become the strict, unforgiving gatekeeper of your own mind. You have absolute control over only one thing in the entire universe: your thoughts. This is the most profound and liberating truth you will ever discover. You cannot control the economy, you cannot control your competitors, and you certainly cannot control what other people say about you. But you possess the supreme, unchallengeable power to choose what you think about. To banish these ghostly fears forever, you must make a definite, unbreakable decision that you are going to master your own mind. When a fearful thought enters, recognize it for what it is: a mere illusion, and immediately replace it with a thought of unwavering faith and burning desire. Surround yourself with positive, driven people. Feed your mind with uplifting books, inspiring stories, and specialized knowledge. The journey to infinite wealth and personal freedom does not begin with a bank account. It begins quietly, but powerfully within the magnificent confines of your own mind. Claim your mind, banish your fears, and step boldly into the extraordinary life that is waiting for you.